Decided to David Banner, OneManCave.com. Stay blessed. God watch, baby.
Holy.
Y'all already know what time it is. Same soup just reheated. It's your boy Notty, and I'm here with
DeShaun Tate.
DeShaun Tate, 92.9, also a Michigan State alum. So I know about this time of year. You usually smiling from ear to ear when I see you around this time of year. Coach Izzo and got the team back to the Final Four. I mean, what's your thoughts on this year's program?
It's tough to get excited sometimes because how often they go to the Final Four. I think one of the biggest things and questions for them, and that's not to sound, arrogant, but one of the biggest things for them is about cutting down the nets, man, chopping down the nets. That's something that they typically don't do. The 7 times he's been able to get them to the Final Four, he's only chopped down the nets 1 time.
Yeah.
15 years ago, approaching the date in the year 2000 with Mateen Cleaves and company. So it's just a matter of if they're going to be able to do it, but they got some pretty tall tasks to overcome if they want to do that.
They do, and before we get to that task, first I want to get to the other side of the bracket.
Okay.
When you got Kentucky going up against Wisconsin. Now, a lot of people have pretty much penciled Kentucky in to the finals. I mean, it's a wrap. They're going for it. And I even said it in the preseason that this team would not be beaten. With that being said, you got this matchup against Wisconsin. You do have Frank Kaminsky, who's averaging over a dub, 10 rebounds in the NCAA tournament. I mean, you got a Nigel Hayes. You got Trey Jackson. I mean, what other chances that Wisconsin could pull the upset against Kentucky?
Well, the thing about it's all about system. Everything is systematic with Wisconsin. It's just about how they run their sets offensively, even more so than defensively. But on the offensive side, where they could come into a problem, face a problem is where they set up into their half-court sets, which typically they like to slow the ball down, make you play the Wisconsin brand of basketball. That can really hurt them more than help them, depending on the adjustments that they've been able to make from getting the win of the Elite Eight. Yep. And then going into the game on Saturday, because when you slow the game down against Kentucky, you're giving their defense, which is one of the best defenses in all of college basketball. You got about 3 or 4 7-footers out there setting up in the paint and waiting on you to come up in there. Exactly. But if you get out in transition and on that outlet, get out on the open floor against Kentucky, that can hurt you too, because you don't want to run with Kentucky, especially if you're Wisconsin.
But Wisconsin is one of those teams that we don't really have to worry about running with Kentucky because, like you say, they don't like to run. They play a half-court game, and they're one of the more efficient teams left in the tournament. I mean, they're the team with the least amount of turnovers remaining in the tournament, which could be key against a team like Kentucky. But Kentucky, their strength seems to be the offensive rebounding. You can't keep them off the glass; they're too long inside. Can Wisconsin offset that in any way, or is Kentucky just too much when it comes to size on the inside?
Well, I think if it gets to a point where Wisconsin, or Kentucky rather, starts just relying on the fact that what has been on season, they're bigger than everybody else, better than everybody else, longer than everybody else. If you go out there and sleep on Wisconsin, Wisconsin's going to do everything. It's basic, fundamental basketball. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It kind of reminds you, and I hate to use the comparisons like this, but they kind of remind you of like the San Antonio Spurs of college basketball. The way everything is fundamentally sound, it's very basic, the way they break everything down. I really believe if it comes to a coaching matchup, from a coaching perspective, Bo Ryan can out-coach Coach Calipari.
Wow.
Coach Calipari, Coach Calipari, he let those horses go. Then we might have a totally different problem. You can't overcoach. He hasn't done it all season, but Wisconsin, they're going to box out. Everything is about technique. It's not the ball's going to go up, come off of the rim, and then all of a sudden everybody runs after it. Wisconsin's going to find a guy when the ball goes up, turn around, put a butt on him, box him out, go towards the glass, and play every single possession individually. They know that that's critical.
So you like Wisconsin?
I wouldn't say I like Wisconsin. I'm not going to go that far and say I like Wisconsin, but I do think that Wisconsin's chances of winning this game is a whole lot better. Not just a little better, a whole lot better than most people expect.
All right, now we are gonna go to the other side of the bracket with the
I've been waiting.
State. Yeah,
I've been waiting.
I know you have. I had to make you wait a little bit. Duke.
Yeah.
Winston has been just a beast these last couple games in the tournament. We already know about Okafor. We know about the point guard play. We know about Cook. These guys can play some basketball. This is going to be a formidable challenge for Michigan State. Tom Izzo has done a great job. I applaud him. You've done a great job to get where you are. There's no shame in losing this game. With that being said, Michigan State, how confident, how comfortable do you feel being a Michigan State alum about this game?
Very confident and very comfortable. I mean, Michigan State played Duke earlier in the season. Two very young teams at that point. Michigan State has a little bit more experience, especially in the backcourt, but in the same token, Duke is obviously more talented than Michigan State. But if we giving people automatic wins based off of talent and what's on paper, paper burns.
You're right.
You know, so none of that really matters. It's going to come down to who's going to not turn the ball over, who's going to play the better defense, who's going to step up, show some heart, and just be consistent, crashing the rebounds. I mean, doing all the little things, going out after loose balls, second chance points, all those things. As long as Michigan State, I mean, this isn't the time to just sit back and say, hey, Michigan State, you've had a good run. Yeah. Now your time is up. I mean, Duke, they played them earlier in the season, man, and now we got to go and see what they're going to do for him.
Trice, he's been, I mean, he's stepped up huge in the tournament. It's the matchups between him and Jones. I mean, can he outscore? Can he score enough on the offensive end to keep Michigan State in the game late?
I think you can.
Lately, that's what's been happening. Yeah. He's been hot. He's hitting all kind of shots, and they stayed in the game.
Well, if you watch Travis Trice closely, it's not really Travis Trice from a standpoint of being, like, playing the whole game, like, magnificently. You know, he's had some stints where he played excellent second halves and didn't show up in the first. Played excellent first halves, didn't show up in the second. With Michigan State, you just really never know what kind of who's going to step up for Michigan State. Denzel Valentine being another one of those guards, and they try and go pretty deep off the on the bench. Lou Rawls, they call him Tum Tum there. He's a freshman. He's young. He's very speedy, but he's not an offensive threat. If he can break down and and penetrate towards the basket, maybe dump it off to some of those bigs who really aren't all that great either. The good thing about the matchup with them against Duke is that Duke is not very. They're not very deep in the front court either outside of Okafor. Everybody's going to go out and play their role. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, everybody just has to go out there and just kind of say, hey, we're here, it's the Final Four, but we're looking towards, you know, moving on past that and going and getting a victory, playing the national championship game Monday night.
Now, of course, I'm not going to ask you your pick on that because I kind of already
know better.
Yeah, I already know who you ride with. And I wish them well. I'm rooting for them, but I won't pick them because, you know, Duke just got a lot right now open for on the inside. But you can never bet against Izzo and what he does come tournament time. Now, speaking of the tournament is located in Indianapolis, and there's been a lot of uproar over a law that was passed in Indianapolis by the governor, Mike Pence. Apparently, there's a new religious freedom law, which this law is in 20 other states. I mean, it's also similar to a federal law that was passed by Bill Clinton in 1993. But it pretty much gives the citizens the right of religion. They put religion a little bit over the law. Now, a lot of the gay and lesbian community has jumped up and said, well, this law discriminates against us. Even though the law doesn't necessarily word that it's a discriminatory law against any group of people, it's just saying that anybody can practice their religion no matter who they are, no matter where they are. To me, it appears to me that almost like a hit dog will holler. Like the gay community has jumped up without anybody discriminating against them or taking anything against them, has already cried wolf and has already said, no, this is not right, this is against us, but it's not necessarily against. It also allows them to practice what they feel is right. Indiana is a state that has already passed the gay marriage law. So it's not like this is a state or this is a government that's against the gay and lesbian community. But we all know that the gay and lesbian community have a lot of power. and they will be outside of those stadiums at the Final Four, making the uproar. Now, the governor of Indianapolis has said that they're in the works of fixing the language of the law. Like, what you're trying to word it so that it sounds right to appease the people that are somewhat offended. But in my opinion, I just don't believe that this is something that should be a dispute. I don't think it's something that should allow the people to boycott the NCAA tournament. And I don't think this is something against the gay and lesbian community. I just think they've jumped up in the uproar a little bit faster than they should. They should have waited until they were discriminated against first, with the law being the muscle behind them being discriminated against. And that hasn't happened. So I think they just need to fall back. And that's my opinion on that situation. It's a controversial truth.
Well, I agree with that in a lot of sense. One of the biggest questions is with the Final Four. I'm going to be there in Indianapolis. I'll leave out on Friday and have the opportunity to kind of see with everything going on, the Fan Fest and all the different festivities and Hall of Fame this and different All-Star College Basketball Hall of Fame game, All-Star game rather. So, I just kind of see it as one of the things I'm more or less looking for is how will this affect everything that's going to be going on for this coming weekend, and on top of that, what would this make other states where that same, different venue, but the same event in the Final Four going to other places, if this becomes a quote unquote success for gays, to be able to, kind of come prideful. And being able to speak openly and publicly, if that is what they consider a success coming up this weekend, when the Final Four decides to go other places, not only the Final Four, when Super Bowl decides to go to Indianapolis or wherever they may go, how is other cities and states going to react based off of how things happen this weekend? I think that's where a lot of the attention is really going to show, and we'll see that in due time.
Well, we'll see about how that goes, and I already know who you got in the tournament. You got Michigan State going all the way, winning the championship, I know, and I probably won't I might get to chop it up with you before then, but I'll go ahead and, for the record, just go ahead and stay with Kentucky winning the whole thing because Arizona got bumped. I had Arizona, so they got bumped. And we're also going to see how this whole thing plays out with Indiana and Indianapolis going forward. This is the man cave, as you can see the guys in here, they about to play some poker, about to get it on, the real live man cave on onemancave.com. This is the controversial truth. I'd like to thank my guest, DeShaun, for coming by and just, giving us that knowledge that you got. And
anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, man, anytime. And One Man Cave brought to you by Authority Transportation. Until next time, you already know the truth shall suffice. For sure.